Hi, I'm Drew, and I'm an amateur model builder. I'm building a layout in my basement called the White River Line, inspired by the Frisco Railroad in the Ozarks. So, I'm planning a little bit shorter video this week. It's the holidays, and I'm going to be spending a bit of time with family. So I won't spend as much time down here working on my layout. What I've got planned for this week is to get these foam tops glued down on my layout, and I'm going to work on the liftgate. So let's jump on into it. After doing a little research, I found that I really only needed my joists 24 inches on center to adequately support my foam top. So I decided to adjust my joists here on the left side of the layout to that spacing before gluing down the foam. As an extra precaution, I rolled out the track plan to make sure that this new placement of the joist didn't interfere with the placement of the switch machines I'll mount under the top later. I found I did need to move this joist about an inch to the right. This move does make the space between it and the joist at 96 inches about 1/4 of an inch larger than 24 inches. The outside edge of the last joist is 96 inches from the outside edge of the first joist, rather than 96 inches on center. I did this so the foam top would be fully supported by this joist, rather than having the two sections of foam needing to share a joist. I'm not too worried about that extra 1/4 inch, since this side of the layout won't have much extra weight on it. These walls aren't exactly flat, so I scribed the profile of the wall on the foam and used my new hot wire foam cutter to customize the fit. Well, this isn't that much better, but once I install a backdrop and add the landscaping, it should look just fine. With this complete, I was ready to install the foam top. I roughed up the back of the foam with a wire brush to make sure that the adhesive would stick to it well. I then applied construction adhesive to the joist and place the foam on top. I used a few paint cans to weigh it down. Once the glue was mostly cured, I moved on to the second section of foam for this left section of the layout. My primary reason for moving the joist is so that both foam pieces have full support underneath them where they meet. I could theoretically use some polyurethane glue to glue these pieces of foam together, but I don't want to run the risk of this joint failing down the road. Where the two pieces of foam meet, I butted up two joists against each other. Again, just so they are fully supported. This may be overkill, but better safe than sorry. Once this was cured, I moved on to the Peninsula. I waited to do this small section on the bottom of the layout so I could fine-tune the fit a little bit. Next, I worked on the back section. This wall is a little bit bowed too, but I didn't feel like the custom fit I'd done before really made enough of a difference to make it worth the trouble. Plus, I'll be adding more foam on top in this section for a grade change, and that will help hide the gap. Now it is time to deal with the biggest problem I have with my benchwork. This corner of the room isn't square, and because of that, or maybe because of some errors I made in measuring or arithmetic, who knows, the right section of the benchwork isn't quite long enough. To adjust for that, I'm going to need to let the foam top extend a bit past this last joist. When I add the fascia, I'll be able to cover this up, so I'm not too bothered by it. I also need to move this joist about an inch to the left to make room for another switch machine. Once this was done, I lined up the end of the foam top where it needs to overhang the joist, and then marked it at the joist I had just moved. I tried a new technique for cutting the foam. Previously, I'd used a handsaw, but this made a bunch of foam dust. A commenter on YouTube suggested I score the foam with a utility knife and snap it off, so I tried this technique. A score on one side wasn't quite enough, so I transferred the lines to the other side and scored it as well. This worked well enough. Again, I roughed up the back and glued it in place. I butted up the next joist, sized and cut the final piece of the foam top, and glued it in place. Now it was time to work on the liftgate. I'm going to need to use plywood for this section. The 2-inch foam will be too big for the section to properly open and close. I cut a piece of 5/8 inch plywood 8 inches wide and marked and cut it to the correct length. I picked up a set of European-style hinges for frameless cabinets. I can install these hinges on the bottom of the liftgate and have them completely concealed. It took me a little bit of experimenting for me to figure out how I wanted to mount them. I considered using some spacer blocks, but as I experimented, I determined that would interfere with closing and opening of the gate. In the end, I used them as they were designed, just horizontally rather than vertically. I removed the blocks that I had put in place for the temporary lift-out section and replaced them with new blocks that were large enough to accommodate the hinges. The hinges come with some handy templates for placing them correctly. I misread the instructions a bit, and it turns out I don't have the right size Forstner bit for this job. A trip to the hardware store remedied this problem. I went ahead and just used my drill press to drill out these holes for the hinges. It's only about 10 degrees in the garage, so I didn't bother to film this. I wanted to get in and get out. I installed the hinges on the liftgate section first. Then I marked the block attached to the benchwork with the template. And screwed the liftgate in place. The nice thing about this style of hinges is how easy it is to make adjustments. First, I adjusted the gate vertically to get it flush with the top of the foam. As you can see, the gate is a little crooked, so I adjusted each hinge horizontally a bit to straighten this out. A little bit of sanding on the end was necessary to make sure the gate doesn't strike the foam top as it closes. And just a little bit more futzing around was needed to get it just how I wanted. With the benchwork complete, I'm going to keep on building more turnouts and plotting my track plan on the layout in preparation for laying some actual track, which is what I'm hoping to get started on in my next video, if I can get all the supplies gathered in time. I'm creeping up near 1,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for all your support in the last year. It blows my mind that I've been able to grow this channel so much in only 10 months, and I'm so grateful. If you enjoyed this video, please click on the like button. It is the best way you can support me. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook, and those links are in the description below, along with the tools and supplies I use. Again, thanks for joining me, and please join me again next time as I continue modeling the White River Line.